Hello and welcome back to the show. So I'm super excited today with my guest, Chris Long, who is the founder and CEO of Longyards Storage, a trailblazer in the industrial storage franchising sector. And Chris is a serial entrepreneur and has actually built a successful construction company and started his entrepreneurial journey when he was only 12 years old with door-to-door sales, which is super impressive. But today we're going to be talking all about Chris's journey in real estate and in business and how he's able to build successful businesses in different sectors within real estate and a little bit about what industrial storage facilities are and why it's a very attractive business opportunity as well. But other than that, Chris, I want to welcome you to the show and say that we are super excited to have you here.
Thanks, Kobe. Excited to jump in and thanks for the intro.
Yeah, absolutely. So before we dig into anything, would love to kind of get your take on just your story. And if you would mind sharing a little bit about who you are and how you got started in business. I know you started with door-to-door sales at 12. So how did that all lead to you now being, the founder and CEO of your current company right now?
Yeah, I love it. So basically, it started by I just grew up a little less fortunate. And I have I think a great upbringing, many lessons, and I do it all over again. But I mean, if I wanted something, I had to go earn it, right? So that started off knocking on doors. If I wanted a new bicycle or an Xbox game, it was like, all right, go and hustle and make it work. So that's how I started my chocolate bar sales. And then, I was always knocking on doors and kind of whether it was shoveling snow on driveways, the hustle was always there. And then, I always loved construction, partly forced because my grandfather made me work with him at a young age. So I was just like, okay, I don't, this is kind of like the way of life. It was a mixture of like selling chocolate bars and physically building things. And when I was young, it was just, work with my grandfather and it navigated naturally into construction. And then I went to college and I was actually a young dad. So, I had a daughter young and then immediately I dropped out of college. I was like, okay, I can't go to school for 3 years. I got diapers I need to buy. So got out of school, went into an apprenticeship into carpentry. I figured I'll do what I know, got into the trades, became a licensed carpenter, and that's how I started my journey. And I named it Conrad Construction after my grandfather, Joe Conrad. And so I ran that, became a licensed carpenter. So I became really good at what I knew first, and then I started the construction company. And that's basically the beginning of I guess the journey of, from selling chocolate bars to the construction industry. And then, I mean, I was buying houses, got into real estate once I got into construction. And then I was like, hey, I love construction. I can now convert houses into multiple houses, do it at a good cost. I'm in the market, in the investing community. I know how to find these deals. Quickly realized I love real estate, love investing, but I don't like residential tenants. And in Canada, tenants have too many rights and it's just very restrictive to scaling and it's not very favorable as a landlord. So I was like, okay, I'm on the right path with my construction knowledge and real estate, but I got to do it differently. And it all happened to merge at around the same time with me having a need in the construction industry of storing my equipment. So I had a commercial property not far from my house and I was like, I'm going to build a storage yard because I need it. And I'm a simple thinker of like, if I need it, somebody else does. Sure enough, that's how it started. I had to go all in on this vision. I had to sell my residential portfolio because no investor would get behind me. They thought I was crazy. So I'm like, hey, I want to build storage yards. And they're like, I don't see storage yards. Why do you think that's going to work? I'm like, well, I need it. And if I could pay a few $100 a month for a storage yard and I got a space, I would rent it. So I figured if I need it, somebody else does. Sold it all, threw spaghetti against the wall, kind of went like had a moment when it was done, like please work. Sure enough, within 6 weeks, we were fully leased out. And now, I mean, we built up phase two, phase three, and I was like, wow, this really works. And my wife and I sold our house, went all in to the States, and now we're building internationally. Built a franchise system. We're building out Central Florida. We have franchisees that are active with deals under contract, and some are advancing in the engineering phase. And we have 6 new franchisees that are expanding in new territories as well. So yeah, we're really at this breakout phase of, I think, becoming a really large brand in the industrial outside space, but in a really niche, unique way. So a little bit about my journey, where we're going, and excited to take it from there.
Hey, that's awesome, man. So you were always an entrepreneur ever since you were 12, and you just kind of basically went through that journey as far as what's working for you now, and then you just saw a business opportunity and you took it, and then you made it into a business. And now you're actually franchising businesses, which is very interesting because I think that's a unique skill set, even though business owners out there who may not want to franchise, they should learn that skill to systemize your business. So we're definitely going to talk a little bit about that. But
Yeah.
first, I kind of wanted to touch on, when you first started, selling chocolate bars when you were
Yeah.
12, right? Did you
Yeah.
learn any lessons from, those early experiences that you can still apply to
100
business even today?
100%. The biggest lesson I've learned was that the market will teach you your lessons, but you have to be ambitious enough to find and knock on the door to hear the lesson you need to learn. So like going to school, you will learn textbook and school lessons, but being on the streets, you're gonna learn street lessons. So like by me knocking on the door and hearing no 35 times, well, on the 36th, I got a yes because I knew how to say what I needed to say and what needed to be said. So the same thing applies now from those early lessons. It's like if certain lenders don't like what I'm doing, we'll keep knocking on doors. If certain people don't like what I'm doing, we'll keep reaching out and finding new avatars. If I don't have a certain way to lease up because of whatever reason, I will find another way. So it's kind of like it's just persevering and letting the market tell you what's not going to work. And it's that knocking on door skill set, which, enough no's will lead to a yes. And then once you find the yes, you just focus on that. What did you say and how did you say it? And that's, I think, the biggest lesson from specifically knocking on chocolate bars at a young age.
Right. So basically consistency and resilience, right? Keeping on essentially. And that's the basis fundamental skill set, I think, for an entrepreneur is to be consistent with what you're trying to do because, I tell, people all the time, and I agree with this, which is if you just keep going, then you will eventually outlast all the struggles and you will succeed.
Well, greatness takes time. And I'm building a niche business. If what I was doing was easy, a lot of people will be doing it. It is not easy for a lot of reasons. So that persistence is now, coming in more than ever because it's so true. And it's like you just keep going. And I think that's the difference between failure and success between probably 98% of entrepreneurs.
Yeah, for sure. And people don't teach that, right? You don't learn that in really business school. I mean, I never went to business school, but I never heard that being taught as a lesson, right? But that's something that you hear from successful entrepreneurs all of the time is that something as simple, right, as consistency, it's definitely not easy, but it's something as simple as that could be the determining factor between success and not succeeding. So, I want to dig now deeper into what you guys are currently doing niche with your industrial storage facility. So that's not something that I've necessarily heard of too much about within the overall business and real estate investing industry. So explain the difference between industrial storage and the normal kind of self storage facilities that I'm sure people who are hearing this are thinking about in their mind even subconsciously.
Yeah, because people, and I go to self-storage masterminds and I try to communicate it most as self-storage because a lot of people, that's one of the quickest ways they can wrap their mind around it. It's like self-storage yards on industrial real estate, and there's different ways to say it. So, for people trying to understand self-storage, it's like, yeah, what's your gross income? What's your NOI? What's your cap rate? What's your future market value? A lot of those languages apply, which is the real estate side of me. But also you have a business side that's a lot different that could be applied with long yards, which makes it very unique for multiple reasons. You could do leasing and you could do joint venturing. So you don't have to just buy real estate. There's land arbitrage that could be made here. So I mean, yeah, there's different ways to carve up how we expand and what avatar location, what's the best locations we're going after. But yeah, just a little bit about us and how we can adapt to the marketplace. And that's what Longyards does. We adapt to the marketplace by having different size yards and what does the market need. So the biggest problem we solve, as I like to say it to people, if you go on the marketplace, go LoopNet, Crexy, and you try to rent a yard from 2,000 to 20,000 square feet, this is where the problem lies. There is no real leadership structure business that is trying to solve this problem. You might get an off property here that someone is giving you a little garage in the back, whatnot. But what we do is, the secret sauce is we take large land as best price per acre or lowest amount per month lease, and we carve it up into small yards and rent them out for more. That's long yards. That's what contractor storage yards is basically all about.
Right. So you guys are doing something as far as, basically plugging a hole within the market, right? There's not a lot of these that you see out there that are really ran correctly or systematized that the way that you guys have been doing it, which is something that I think a lot of people need. So as far as your target market, right? It's, what does that look like? Is it mostly just construction, companies, construction workers? Is that what that market looks like? You're renting these storage yards to construction companies?
Well, on the surface, that's what you would think. And it does look a little obvious. So, I mean, you'd think landscapers, contractors, and these are a good portion, but there's a lot of other corporate companies and there's a lot of other consumer usages as well. So it's a lot of supply. There's a massive supply and a shortage of demand. And at one location, based on your radius and the growth and the consumers, you will get more clients of a certain nature in certain areas than others. And we're new with the data because we are a new concept and it's, we are building the data ourselves. So, on the surface, most of them are contractors, but when you really get into certain areas that are more seasoned with growth, you get different types of clients. So, I mean, like self-storage is, I wouldn't say it's saturated, but they're popping up everywhere. I'm in Florida and like I just see them just popping up everywhere. And I'm just wondering, like, when's the supply and demand gonna really balance, and there's different underwriting techniques. But we're kind of like blue sea method. I mean, we will make the data, and it's like we'll find out what works the best where, but it'll be different clients and different locations. So because we're so adaptable, if you just think of people that need a yard, that's a large net to cast. So contractors are a big one, but there's also a lot many others that we know how to target them and get them at our facility.
Wow, so that's pretty interesting. So you guys are definitely in, like you mentioned, like a blue ocean, blue sea strategy, right? Because there's not that many competitors that are out there. And I was literally interviewing a self-storage expert yesterday who was talking about the saturation of the market, right? That was a big issue for owning and operating self-storage facilities, which is something that doesn't seem like an issue you guys are having yet because you guys are essentially first market or first to market with this type of property or this type of facility.
Exactly. I mean, it's not easy though. I mean, you have a big barrier to entry with the right land, getting the right size, with no with zoning, city approvals, all that jazz. So you're going through the whole real estate development process. But on the other side, it's a demand that has a large supply. And yeah, it's definitely different what we're doing. People love it. People just love what we're doing. They're reaching out whenever people hear about me, like, how do I get involved? So that's sometimes people reaching out and they're like, I want this territory. And we've had that twice in the last month where it was no longer available because we're just signing up territories and people are taking space. So because it is territorial by nature, we don't want these properties beside each other. We want a brand that's international that we're securing with great partners. So a little bit about us, but it is great. But it's also, if people want it in their area, they got to consider it.
Right. So you guys are scaling up pretty fast then because there's a lot of people that want to be involved in this. So, what I really wanted to talk with you now about is kind of what it looks like from the operational side, right? What does it look like for somebody to actually own one of these facilities, one of these properties, and to operate it? How does that compare to all of the other types of real estate, if you will, that somebody can own? I know you mentioned it's a lot easier than or a lot better than managing residential tenants. So
Yeah.
how does that compare just across the board?
Yeah, great. So basically, we're like a blueprint from A to Z on how to find real estate, how to underwrite it, the LOIs, the PSAs, that we have what's called a development assembly line, a construction assembly line, and a management SOP. So we've literally built an entire blueprint step by step to go through the whole life cycle of what you need to look for and how you need to get to grand opening because we built that franchise blueprint. So we could take someone that, let's say, is an LP in a lot of deals, but they want to get more involved. Well, we can actually help them do that while owning 100% of the real estate. And that to somebody like that avatar is great. Or let's say we have a service-based business that is doing a pods delivery style service. They deliver bins, toilets, they need yard space, they're growing, they have the problem. Instead of now them paying for yard space, we're going to show them how to get yard space and get paid for doing it through our business model. So you have different avatars reaching out, and we can also have people that want to invest in our business corporately. So whether or not they want to join the Longyards team exclusively, they want to work with us in expanding. We're looking for A players. They want to become a franchisee. It's really made to adapt. Not only are the yards adaptable, but our model's adaptable for what people are at in their phase of life and their journey. We do want to be really focused on a good franchise avatar who's a good operator, who loves the business and really wants to be a leader in their community. But if we have investors, they could partake as well.
Wow, that's really cool. So, basically what you guys are able to build this blueprint that you mentioned, right, from A to Z.
Yeah.
And that's something that, we mentioned a little bit earlier on the show, which is systematizing your business, right? Creating a franchise system around your business. So was this something that you guys always had in your mind that you wanted to do, or was this something that, as you guys started building, um, your first storage yard, that because you had the system, it made sense to go into franchising?
Yeah, great question. The system evolved a lot. It wasn't my first thought. My first thought was not to franchise this. If you gave me $100 million tomorrow, I'd buy them all corporately. Let's go. Because there's so much money in the real estate. We're actually kind of not short selling ourselves, but we understand there's so much value creation in the real estate that we're kind of giving someone the cookbook and the territory to make this value creation, and that's why the territory is so scarce and people are jumping on it. So it wasn't the first thought, but it's to scale quickly. And because we want to go international, the franchise brand has a lot of power behind it to create that cookbook to really go fast because it's a speed to market. Also, there's high enterprise value with the franchising, which gives you a lot of lending options and brand power. And I mean, for a few, and then we have a lot of brand purchasing power from our suppliers by having a franchise system as well to really offer lower pricing from all of our vendors. So there's a lot of benefits, but it kind of grew a little bit organically. And because we can lease and joint venture with landowners, that also is great for franchising. So corporately, we'd love to take down real estate, but if a franchisee wants one, wants to own the real estate or have a lease, and look, they can lease a property and be in $50,000 to $80,000 and have a 5 acre property that's cash flowing with the Longyards model. I mean, because we got approved by SBA. So, I mean, yeah, it caters to a wide net of different people, and the systems really help. But we built the systems, we built the checklist one by one.
Right. Yeah. So now, you mentioned the system and the checklist, right, that you guys have built. So, walk us through that process, if you don't mind, of what that looked like, right? Because there's a lot of businesses out there, even very simple businesses, like, for example, like a real estate agent business, right, where there's not so much operational and, as operationally intensive as, what you guys are doing,
Yeah.
that is actually really difficult for like an individual agent to even come up with a checklist or even explain what it is that they do, and you guys are able to develop this entire system that you can actually franchise out. So what does it look like for you guys to actually develop, this step-by-step checklist? Was it just kind of going back into what's working and then documenting it, or did it kind of start from, hey, I need to build a system, and we're just going to start with that in mind as we build out this business and try to fit it into our, this existing system?
Yeah, so I love getting into it. It was kind of like my first facility and learning. It started from the first facility and learning what not to do and what you assume works versus what doesn't work. And these are little things like the fencing, the gates, the road width, the offsets. And then it's kind of like knocking on doors when I was a kid selling chocolate bars. I just learned what works and doesn't work by persevering and keep going forward. So with all these lessons and nuances that I learned, I started with what's called an acquisition assembly line. I built an AAL. And then after the acquisition assembly line, once the deal goes under PSA or lease negotiation, I built up what's then called a DAL. This is the development assembly line. And then once the development assembly line, once that's done, all the checklists in priority with the cost time, then it goes to the construction assembly line. And then it goes to a management SOP. So each of these four categories have checklists in priorities with costs and times and roles and responsibilities right to see it through. And that's my checklist from A to Z. And just to keep it relatively simple and high level, with the acquisition assembly line, it goes to our target markets, then it goes to our buy box, then it goes to our zoning, and then local building code, and then feasibility. And these are 5 items before we even look at a deal that we brought it through filters. Then it goes to the next. We verify and validate. We do comps, and then we bring it through, our underwriting process. We stress test it, and then we approve it with the lenders, and then it just goes through this life cycle of deals, and we go to the next phase of the life cycle. So, and a lot of people do this just naturally, but they don't have an actual blueprint or checklist that really could probably map it out. But when you do it properly, you really go deep into each item. And each item, I have a link to a checklist, but also a training video for every single step that I built, whether it's installing fences, writing an LOI, or learning to understand your entitlement process, the strength of your soil, or the distance to the quarry for the Longyards facility. All of these things, it's as like cookie cutter assembly line as you could be, and that's what a franchisee gets. They get the comfort and security knowing that we've gone through all these things. Frankly, a lot of them are hard and a lot of them are easy to learn, but it's like, here you go, here's the cookbook, and it's not just here's the cookbook. We're behind you every step of the way.
Right. So you guys basically invented this, right? Because with real estate investing and in a lot of other businesses that are more or less, saturated or mature, whatever word you want to use, there's, existing templates of these systems and processes that people can adopt. But
Yeah.
with what you guys are doing, this is pretty much brand new, right? There hasn't been another, kind of company that came before you that did
Yeah.
this.
There's no underwriting multifamily template 34 version from, Mr. Smith. No, it's like we are literally creating our feasibility tools based on tiers of land. To give you an example, we have right now 4 tiers of land. One of them is a forest, one of them is ready to go for a long yards. Each of them, with our feasibility tool, populates the net rentable square footage and the cost based on the setbacks. So we can look at a property now, we can evaluate it within about 3 minutes with a gross rent multiplier summary, and including with our assumed debt services that, again, we've got SBA backing us. So we're building all of these tools. And every step of the way, whether I hear no 12 times, it's the 13th time that I hear yes. And then our SOP goes to that 13th time. And this entire life cycle, there's been no road to follow. You might be able to follow a few paths in a few areas, but for the most time, I'm creating an entire new blueprint for an entirely unique niche business model. And that's why I'm trying to create brand leadership. And that's why we have, Facebook groups like Storage Yards, and you see us on Instagram, Chris Longyards, and we're just, educating the marketplace on what storage yards are, because we are building such a big blueprint that we're considering ourselves leaders in the industry.
Yeah, I definitely think you guys are. I mean, I haven't heard of it of anybody else that is kind of even coming close to what you guys are doing as far as the scale that you're doing it on, and as well as the systems that you guys have built out for developing these facilities and being able to, even get other business owners to invest in and become a franchisee. Um, in these. So what is it, I guess, you talked a little bit about earlier as far as, there's, territories now currently being sold out. And, you guys are more or less looking for, community leaders, people that really want to take over kind of this business in their area. So what are some other things you're looking for in somebody that you want to potentially franchise to? Do you look for, existing investors? Are you looking for any type of existing experience, past experience requirements, or is it just somebody who is, passionate, somebody who is willing to put in the work, who has the capacity to actually take over a business like this and want to learn?
Yeah, so I would put it in three different buckets. I would say the first avatar, which would be a service-based franchise business that requires land. And this can be like anyone with a fleet of vehicles that's already parking everywhere and they understand the nuance and the problem of it. And because they understand, first of all, they're high margin, they're high profit, and they have a demand for land. And they're already familiar with, business language. We don't have to go through a whole, retraining, recycle process. The second one would be a service-based business, just not a franchisee that's in the area. Again, high margins, high profit, needs land. And then the third bucket would be more the investor class. These are the doctors, the architects, or the engineers, and they have a high W-2. They're looking to invest. And that's when we can, mold a deal as a bring them either as an LP or structure debt a little bit differently. But those are pretty much the three different categories of people that we're looking forward to actually help us build out. And then the fourth would be anyone that thinks they can add value to the Longyards team. We are always promoting. It's really hard to find A players and A talent, but we think with a big vision and a clear vision, the right people get behind you. It's just you gotta sometimes they gotta hear you, know you exist before they can, you can start dating them, then marry them. But we are looking for great talent to help us with this vision internationally.
Wow, that's awesome. So you guys are, I would say you guys have a pretty flexible business model, right? That's out there, compared to the other, other more traditional franchising models. I don't think they offer things like, LP partnerships and different things like that. Would you say that's the case as far as comparing it to other franchise businesses that are out there? Or?
I've seen a few where they're hybrids, but because I'm dancing in this delicate circle of like, your sponsor LPGP and real estate investing to take down corporate deals, I've had to learn how to marry that to the franchising world and to the business expansion because the capital is so great on these industrial parcels, especially in great markets where you frankly have to be a little creative. And we're transparent about that because it's just, you need a team to take these deals down in some cases. But in other cases, on the lower acquisition side, you can do the leasing or joint venture, and that's where the service-based guy can come up with a reasonable amount of money, and it's not so capital intensive. And that where it really goes into the real estate side of things. So because our business model it is very adaptable for those reasons, because the land, how you acquire the land is adaptable, and the amount of people that you could bring between the real estate world and the business world, I've had to learn how to marry those all and kind of create a marriage almost for every deal. But the systems are still the same. Every system from A to Z, who's responsible is the same. That's very clear. But sometimes the structure is a little different, and that's really the difference.
Right. Yeah. So where are you guys looking at now as far as expanding? And you mentioned expanding territories even internationally. So and even territories are now being being caught up and already not being available. So what are some of the territories now that you guys are looking to expand into either domestically in the US or internationally in some of these markets outside of the US as well?
I mean, it's mainly right now Canada and the US. We are very heavily focused on what we call the Texas Triangle. That's just a great market. We are also very heavily focused in Florida. Jacksonville's a great market. Orlando's a great market. Tampa, I wish was easier to find great opportunities, but we really got to dig hard for that one. But those are where we have our laser focus eyes as like a corporate, but then we have franchisee leads coming in. We just signed a few territories, and we have Nashville, a chunk of Nashville just got taken. Other parts of Texas, and then we're under NDA right now for the goal for the other. Well, I have a go long, go home guarantee, which I could tell you about, and we have 6 of those secured right now. So until they come to fruition, that's when we publicly announce them. But right now, those territories are being secured.
Wow, that's pretty impressive. So you guys are looking at all over, right? As
All
far as
over. Well, yeah, and Canada too. So like Toronto's really great. Toronto's a great market. Montreal is really hard to find good industrial properties. I mean, you're seeing the land around $1 million an acre. But Canada's good. Um, the US is just a bigger animal, so there's a lot more opportunity there. One of the reasons why I'm all in on the US. And then going back to a little bit, I mentioned the go long or go home guarantee. It's yeah. So Chris Long, Longyards, go long or go home, right? And that's what I did. I figured, I'm gonna lead this. If I believe in going long or going home, then I think people that get behind me should as well. And I made it a pretty safe guarantee for them. So let's say you like what I'm doing, you want to protect your territory, see if it's available, reach out to us, and they would protect your territory for $5,000 for 120 days. And if we don't find anything, you get your 5 grand back, no questions asked, right? If we find something, then it's like, okay, let's make something work here. So we created that go long, go home guarantee, and since then, people are just swooping up territories, and they're like, let's lock something in, and it's very fair, and people love that, and it's very safe.
oh, that's a really good guarantee, right? You're using that as far as the kind of you've seen businesses out there with like 30-day guarantees or money back guarantees. You guys are really putting that within integrating that system or that guarantee into your business as well, which is super cool. I think there's going to be a lot of people who are going to gravitate towards that to protect their territory, right? Especially if they're serious, right? Serious
Yeah.
about making something happen, or not just kind of looking around just to tie something down.
Exactly. And it separates the people who are interested in the tire kickers right away because it's a low barrier to entry to get started. But we also need to make sure they're vetted and qualified before. We need to make sure they have the financial maturity and the liquidity to take down a deal. But it's a great bridge, right? Because the real estate could vary. It could be a 3 acre property that's a lease, or it could be an 8 acre acquisition. So it's what's your budget and what's your bandwidth, and let's make a deal happen.
Yep, absolutely. Well, Chris, I appreciate you being here on the show today. You shared a ton of value with us as far as what you guys are actually doing, how you guys are helping other investors and businesses that are out there, and who you're looking to partner with as you guys move forward. I think it's very exciting. You guys have a great brand, and you've done a great job with your branding as well. I think and you guys have the system built out for anybody that wants to invest or be a part of this business as well. So if you are anybody who is out there listening or watching this that want to reach out to you, that want to learn more about what you guys are doing, that want to get educated on storage jars and storage industrial storage facilities and what they do and the benefits of investing and owning one of these businesses, what are some of the best ways for people to follow you, to reach out to you, websites, social medias? What are some of the best places for people to get educated on this from you guys?
Yeah, if people want to follow us on Instagram, you can follow me at Chris Longyards, and you can just go to longyards.com, learn a little bit more. If you want to fill out a form, see if your territory is available, that's a great spot as well. And I just put my email out there. It's clong@longyards.com. So feel free, one of those 3 ways, to either follow or reach out, and be happy to connect.
Awesome, man. We'll make sure to leave the links to that in the description, the show notes down below, so that way you can check that out. But other than that, Chris, thank you again for being on the show. Before I let you go here, is there any last pieces of advice, any last tips you would like to leave with the audience here before we let you sign off here?
Now, man, just keep knocking on doors.
Yeah,
Keep
love
going.
it. Love it. That's some great advice, man. Thank you. And thank you for tuning in. And we'll see you in the next show. Take
Awesome, man.
care.